with us, and Fred and myself. And what we're going to talk about today is we're going to go through the process of setting up our portfolios on the virtual private server, because there's a few little tiny things you need to be aware of, which are traps for people that first start this. And so we thought we'd do a video to help our members out, to give them guidance in how to set it up. So I just thought, Izzie, what I might do is I might show you how we've set ours up, and then you let, if you want to bring us into sharing your screen or whatever to show us anything, then do that. So I'll firstly go to, I'll share the screen now. And tell me if you can see the remote server up on the screen.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Okay, so this is this bare bones setup that we talk about for the virtual private server. And some of the things you need to know is when you come on to the virtual private server, in this case, we have 4xVPS as our provider, and we link to their servers in New York. So when you use your remote desktop connection, so I'll go to that quickly. So when you use a remote desktop connection, I've just got to find it. So here's a remote desktop connection. You've got to install the IP address and the password into your remote desktop connection. We won't click in there because I don't want anyone sort of jumping onto our VPS here. But once you set that up, you connect with your remote desktop connection to your virtual private server, and you'll be presented with it's basically another PC screen. But this operates in a virtual location at a server in some faraway land. In this case, we're close to the New York Stock Exchange, so we get pretty quick latency between our execution of our trades, which does help, I suppose, in reducing to a degree some slippage. But then we have, in this case, Pepperstone as our broker. And what we do is when we open up that Pepperstone account, we've got to use the correct logins, and if you're on live or demo, the correct server and the correct password. And once you've done that, then you are presented with your trading screen effectively.
Rick, just to check, sorry to interrupt, but just to check, so the account that we connect to on the VPS is the exact same one that we connect to on our local computer. We don't need to set up a separate demo account, right? It's exactly the same account. Exactly
the same account. So if I go to my login, and so if I go here to the login to trade account, I'll find that the login and the password are exactly the same as this one, which I'll just bring on. This is on my local PC, and that's exactly the same. However, this one doesn't trade.
Yes.
This VPS
you can actually close your trades on your local PC, and it'll close on the VPS as well. It's the same connection as on your phone. So you can have your phone, your laptop, your PC at home, your PC at work. They can all be looking at the same account, but be careful because any one of them can take action on that account. It's just that the EA itself is residing on the VPS. So if you want auto trading, that's going to happen at VPS. But you can manually open and close trades on your phone if you wanted to, and override what the EA is doing.
So what would happen then, Fred? Would it be, so say they were all live trading at the same time, would it be whichever one picked up the signal first? That would
no, they're not all trading at the same time. They're all looking at the same incarnation of MT4, but the EA is residing on the VPS, and the EA is what's making the determination on when to move the stop loss and when to open the trade. So those other views into that world are only views, they're not actions, but they have the capability.
I'll just show Izzie that the EAs are actually on a VPS. But however, on this one here, if I go into I'll bring up the navigator, I don't have my EAs on this. This is just looking to that account.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Sure. Okay.
But But
yeah.
the point being that even though you think you're only looking at it, you do have control. You can actually open and close trades via the terminal window on any one of those platforms.
But
okay.
What Fred?
Because I still had the EAs attached in my local computer, so I should take those. I should take those EAs off, right?
I'd get rid of those from a safety perspective in case you double up, because you might end up, multiple incarnations of the same thing, which is not a good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So we're using this particular account here as just a visualizer of our account. We just make sure that there is no way we can set trades off by anything we do in here. So that's why we turn this auto trading off. However, on our VPS, that's something that we actually don't need to go. Once we've set it up, we don't need to go back into it and check it. We just use this version to check how everything's going. The only reason we'd come back into the VPS is if we've got an execution issue, which we check in our journals.
Yeah.
So those journals are only being picked up, and the log files are only being done on the VPS. So you can't see them on your local PC. You can just see the trades that have been closed.
Okay, that makes sense.
I've just turned the fan on, guys. If that's too noisy, let me know. It might be affecting the audio. It's hot here. Okay, so now, Izzie, what we do, we actually also link this to fxblue. Do you link yours to fxblue, or do you want to link yours to fxblue?
Yeah, I've linked mine to fxblue as well.
Okay, so you might understand this. If we go to this first tab here, this is our receiver EA, or it's our fxblue publisher EA.
Yeah.
Okay, so that just allows us to therefore monitor all of the trades on our VPS into our fxblue account, which gives us some pretty good analysis functions, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But okay, so now what we do here, so this particular portfolio runs totally off SQX generated algos. Izzie, you've gone through a workflow process where you've developed your own suite of algos for each market. But just so you're aware, when we look at each of these markets, we've developed 7 EAs in each sub-portfolio here. So for AUD, JPY, we've got 7 EAs consolidated into one algorithm. And you see the name of the algorithm. We've got portfolio AUD, JPY, D1 7 times up here. So when we go into the expert properties, expert advisors, the first thing you've got to know is when you generate your algorithms in the portfolio merge function within Strategy Quant X, it generically labels these magic numbers in accordance with, it's usually a 11111 and then 11112, 11113, etc. Now, the problem is when you run a large number of different markets, you can have the same magic number, which causes problems in the execution of those EAs.
There's a bug in their code that doesn't discriminate, which is a problem. So to get around that, is, as we posted on the forum, just make your number unique. Hey, Rich, before you go too much further, this could confuse a few people, and maybe he's looking at it, scratching his head, saying that's not what my version of the portfolio looks like, because this is an old EA, is it not? And this is actually one that we've modified to...
Yes, I'll show Izzie a later incarnation. We're slowly, progressively rotating some of these EAs over. So I'll give you a new EA that you'll be familiar with, Izzie. Here's GBP USD. This is another 7 times, but this is using the build 130 version of SQX. And I'll just show you what that looks like. So when you come in here, this is what it looks like now.
Which is probably what you're more familiar with, isn't it?
You might be
exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly what mine looks like.
Okay, so all we do here is for each one of these tabs, we lift this by a, so for instance, for sugar, we're dealing with the 30,000 series, 30,001, 30,002, etc. For Euro JPY, the 32,000 series, 32,001, 32,002.
Got it.
GDP, you know what I mean? So each market has its own unique range of 7 magic numbers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, it was driving me mad. I was trying to figure out why it wasn't working properly.
I know.
Yeah, we had the same issue initially. Yeah.
So, and we had it on a live account, mate. So it hurt us more than it hurts you.
This is the thing. You'd expect the workflow process to be the hardest bit, and then everything runs smoothly after that.
Fred and I make all these recommendations about what to do, and then we just don't do it.
Do as I say.
Exactly. So, mate, another thing to be aware of is these are all of the different settings for the EAs. When you come down to your money management section, make sure it's set to true. And this can be a real trap for different asset classes. For instance, for Forex, all of our trades here are configured for a 1% trade risk. People will have different values, 0.5%, 0.25% or whatever, but we're using 1% here. But these three areas here are the key ones to know. So when you're dealing with Forex, it's got 2 decimal places. 0.01 is the minimum lot size, and maximum lot size on Pepstone is 100. So for Forex, it's 2.01, 100. For all indices like NASDAQ, US 30, US 500, it's 1 decimal place. It's 0.1 for minimum lot size, and it's 100. Yeah. For CFDs such as sugar, soybeans, copper, its minimum decimals is 0, and the minimum lot size is 1 lot with 100. You just got to be aware of that. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems in the execution if you don't have those settings correctly set.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
that spreadsheet of yours is a lifesaver, Rich, when it comes to that, to be honest. I've become so familiar with the configurations now that I've got it memorized, but it's really helpful. There is one thing I wanted to ask, though. So with my EAs, I've also got minimum stop loss in pips in the money management bit there, and it's set to 100. I don't know where that's come from. Do you guys have any idea?
I would say, so when we're in SQX generating these, when we generate these using the portfolio merge function, and then we create the EA within Strategy Quant X, we use the % risk balance method.
That's what I did as well, Rich. That's what I did as well for each one. Oh, I definitely use percentage risk, but is it balance? Is it account? I'm not sure.
We're using balance. You might have used account. They will produce different things. Just be aware of that. Look, just trial it out, different methods. And I don't like this stops in pip stuff.
We're using ATR anyway in all of these.
We're using ATR for all of ours, so that's why we use the trade risk %. But just play around with it, Izzie, and your SQX.
So I think what it does, though, is I don't know where it comes from, but I think the whole point of that is it says basically whatever ATR stop loss distance we have, it has to be above the minimum stop loss in pips that it has set to 100. But like I said, I have no idea where that came from. It might be the account balance thing.
It might be. It's the.
I think it's something else. I think it's in the stop loss setting arrangement within the data mining section, I reckon.
Okay. Is that problematic, do you guys?
We much prefer this method here, Izzie. I personally think you'll run into troubles by using the stops and pips because you won't be able to. It's not normalizing your markets.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Yeah, that's the problem. I have no idea how I'm going to resolve that.
Why don't you? I was going to suggest post up one of your portfolios and we'll have a look at it and see if we can figure it out for you.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Fred.
If you don't want to put it on the forum, email it. We can have a look at it offline.
Sure.
Rich, before you leave this discussion, and I know you haven't gone all the way through, can you scroll to the top again? Because we've got that other issue about the comment section there.
Okay. Yes.
Now the comments, Richard has some obscure method of commenting. My preference there would have actually been to put the magic number in the comment section as well. But forgetting that comment section can't be more than about 30 characters, or you'll run into other problems.
Fred's a nasty bugger. What he actually said is I'm extremely verbose and I put too much information in there. And he had a real go at me about this, and I was about to let down his car tyres.
He gets very, very upset with me at times.
I came across this in the forum, actually. I remember you guys posting. It's to do with Rich's long way of naming, right? Very thorough naming process.
He wrote an essay in there, so that was the problem.
You've got to dot your I's and cross your T's with this. This is difficult stuff.
Yeah, but the software, and it's a bit weird, but the software actually looks at that comment to see whether there's a trade open already with that comment. And if it truncates, because there's a limit to how long that can be, if it truncates it, when you open another trade, it just doesn't recognize the old trade. So keep that to less than 30 and you'll be right.
Okay. Sure.
And mate, so we've been through the money management, which we talked about. You've got to check your workflow processes in SQX and see if your portfolio EA is obviously including something in with your stop in pips. Not sure why, but anyway. Mate, here, just make sure the max trades per day is up to the total threshold of the number of EAs, because we've configured this so there's only for each EA 1 trade maximum per day. We can have up to 7 trades per day.
Yeah, I'm not 100% convinced on that, Rich. I got a feeling that may be per EA, but because
no, it's not, mate. I've checked it. So what, for instance, if I set this to 1 and then run it as a portfolio, I get about 1/7 the number of trades.
Okay, fair enough.
A much lower number of trades, and it is not the same number of trades as I generate out of SQX. So what I've done is I've cross-compared the number of trades from my SQX with my MetaTrader, and using that, you do need to set that to 7 or however many EAs are in your sub-portfolio.
Yep. That's my findings as well. I came across exactly the same thing in the backtest as well.
Beautiful, mate. Down here, just make sure the subchart symbol is the correct one. So this is for GBP USD. Sometimes there's notation here depending on how you call it within your SQX workflow process. So just make sure it's the symbol specification that you'll be trading on. And we've set the 30 minutes. Izzie, I think you're on an hour, aren't you, for delay?
Yeah, I was on 60 minutes, yeah.
Okay, so just to remember, for each sub-market, make sure that you've got your unique range of EAs, and we use a standard nomenclature here. So when we're in fxblue, we can refer to these numbers and know which particular EA it is within the sub-portfolio.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
So once we've set that up, it's important to save it as a set file, Izzie? Because what we do then is we save this as GBP USD set file. And so if ever we have any problems on this server, and we have, for instance, had an instance where there was a reboot of the server on the weekend, and when we came back to it on Monday, we noticed that it had actually reset all of the magic numbers to the original numbers that were presented by SQX, which is a problem for us.
There is a way around that if you're so inclined. If you actually modify the EA and hard type the new code into that, then you won't have that problem. You won't need to create the set file because it'll be combined within the EA itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be be compiled. The numbers will be compiled in. I don't know if you want to go to that extreme or not, but it was a bit annoying when we found that it changed out the other day.
So for instance, if for instance this EA had reset, Izzie, all I'd do is I'd come into the expert property. I'd go into the EA. I'd go expert properties here. I'd go load. I'd find my GBP USD set file. This one here.
Yeah.
And then, wait a sec, I just got to be careful. Yep. And then I'd hit load and select OK, and then it restores it all.
Got it.
So,
are there any issues though when it comes to reloading? So I always wonder this as well. If an EA shuts and then you reattach it onto the chart, will it any existing trades that were entered into with the previous when it was previously attached? If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, the EA is clever enough because of the magic number in the comment section to just pick that up from where it left off.
Okay, perfect.
So, Izzie, what we're going to do, Fred and I, we've been progressively adding more and more markets as we go. We're just going to add one, just as an example, a full-flown new market. We're going to add, create US 30. So we've got our EA loaded and ready to go in here. So we're now going to, all we do is we take note of the last chart that we had up. What was the series of magic numbers? So if I go to Expert Advisors here and I look at the numbers, I note that... Now
you're confused, aren't you?
Mate, I'm confused now.
You know,
was that an old set file?
You pulled in the old set file.
Yeah, there we go. Bang. Sorry. Trap for no run players there. Righto. God, luckily no trades triggered then. Anyway.
Yeah, you got to be really careful what you do on here.
Yes, this is life. Okay, so the series we were on was the 33 series. So now I'm going to add US 30. The first thing I'm going to do is just pull up my chart, US 30. I'm going to put it onto D1, and the first thing I'm going to do with this chart is ensure it's got a lot of history loaded. And the way I do that is I use the page up function, turn off these scroll indicators here, use the page up function and go back in history to ensure that there's enough history to trigger all of the indicators that would be in my EAs. So we go back to 2008, which is the earliest we can get back to here.
The reason we're doing that is because we had an occasion where it was looking for an ATR based or ADX based on a look back of 900 odd bars or something, and we didn't have that many bars loaded in on the chart, so it couldn't actually make a sensible trade.
Okay.
Now we're ready to load our EA. It's probably going to trigger a trade long, I'd say, because we are in an uptrend here. We'll soon see. Now remember, our trades classically trigger on the open of every bar. However, when you load an EA, it assumes it's the open when you load it. So I'll do a calculation and it might place you into trades. It's not a big drama. If it does, so what? But look, just be aware of that. So we're now going to load our US 30. So the first thing we do is we'll double click EA here. We go to the inputs tab. Now what we want to do is we want to use the next run of the magic number series. We were on 33,000, so we're now going to 34,001. This one can be 34,002, 34,003, 34,004, 34,005. You've got to be very careful with this, Izzie.
Yeah.
I do this with Fred, always looking in the background just to make sure. He sort of gives me an insult if I do something wrong.
It's a regular occurrence.
Oh, yeah. He's a nasty bastard, mate. Okay. So
I know what you guys mean, though. When I was doing, the setup of the VPS yesterday, it was like the most terrifying thing because obviously you have to make sure that you're not making any mistakes here.
I know, mate. I know. All right, so here we're in the risk management section. We trade 1% risk. This is an index, US 30. So this has one decimal place, which it's already got. The minimum lot size that it goes to is 0.1, and the maximum is, for Pepstone, is 100. Now, you can find this in your market specifications for the instrument. We just know it. So, but that's for an index, 1.100. We're happy there. We then come down to here and put 7 trades per day. See how this is called US 30 pepper? We want to change this to US 30.
Or whatever your broker calls it, yeah.
So in this case, our broker calls it US 30 for the Dow Jones, US 30 here. And then here...
With Pepperstone, have you noticed there's a .R instrument as well? Does it make any difference which one we go for?
I haven't noticed that. Is that... What's that?
Oh, odd. That it's on my Pepperstone account. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm based in London. I'm not sure, but I've got a bunch of instruments that are also called. So instead of major FX, it will say retail major FX or retail commodities, and then it will be exactly the same symbols, but it will have .R at the end as well.
That's interesting. That must be your local London Pepperstone, mate.
That could be it. We're about to move to a tighter margin here. What's your margin requirements on with Pepperstone in the US, UK?
I think it was 100 to 1.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking in Australia the retail trade is going to 25 to 1, so the .R might be the retail version.
Could be, yeah.
Izzie, also be aware, mate. We will be fleeing Pepperstone shortly over to Ducoscopy. It's just something we've got to do here because of the changing margin requirements.
Yeah.
So, look, still, if it doesn't affect you, keep on using Pepperstone. But up to you, mate.
Okay.
So we have a 30-minute delay on here. So we've set up our set file. Now what we want to do is save it. So I go save, and I call this US 30. I'll call it revised, so I don't get the same problem I had with GBP USD.
Well, you've changed the nomenclature now. You're going to be confused next time, aren't you?
No, I'll look at the date I created it, mate. Anyway, so I've saved it. Save. Okay, save my set file. Now I'm ready to go. You ready? Let's see if a trade implements, and let's see what happens to these journals down here. Here we go. We're going to hit it. Okay. Loaded successfully. That's a good sign. Are there any error messages? Initialized. It all looks good, mate. There's no error messages popping up here. And the good thing is, mate, we're getting quite large, and this is this basic VPS plan, mate. So we've got about...
Well, it's 34. You're up to 34 charts, although some of them have been knocked out. So there's probably around about 30-odd charts.
And it all seems to be working fine, mate. So we've just set up an EA ready to rock. It's got the smiley face ready to go. So tomorrow it might trigger, but obviously it hasn't triggered on setup, which is quite good.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got issues with resourcing, that display that you've got on the chart at the moment, if you turn off that text in the top right hand corner, which is an option, that saves you a bit of resource. If you go to the Market Watch,
that's you can turn this off by going false there. I'll keep it on. It's not
leave it on. Yeah. The other thing you can do is, if you look at the Market Watch, Richard's got, I think, every symbol available up there at the moment. Go back to your Market Watch.
Oh, so sorry, mate.
Yeah, I clicked the hide all and I've closed it all down just to save.
Yeah, well, that'll save resources. I don't think you can hide the ones that are currently got charts open, but you can hide everything else. And then pretty much make sure you clean out your log files every now and then. And if you run into any issues, have a look at the task manager and just see what the CPU and memory is doing. We did that the other day, and we were quite okay with what's going on. So, if you start putting
does minimizing the charts help, Fred?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not trying to draw to the charts. If you minimize everything, that in fact will help as well. But we've not, because we're only trading effectively once a day. We don't seem to be having too much trouble. The other thing you could do is you could stagger your offset from 30 minutes in 5-minute intervals or something. And that way you won't have everything trying to trade at the same time.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, it's unlikely that you pick up more than a couple of trades per day anyway.
And we've had this running since November last year, mate. So really, apart from our stupidity, there's really no errors occurring.
That's brilliant. That's really good to hear. Just so in terms of, so I've got a couple of questions. So in terms of clearing the log files, do you guys do that every weekend? Did you say?
We don't get that fussed about it, but some of the log files can get quite large. So periodically, just go through and clear them out. You could do it every week, every month. You'll soon find out how often you need to do it. I think if you ask Richard, he's probably never done it. So,
what's a log file?
And what about the reboots, guys? As in, firstly, how do you do the reboot in the first place? And is that done on the weekends?
Yeah, so make sure it's only ever on the weekend, a non-trading session. If you've got a Windows update or something on the server, just all you do is you close off the pepper. So, look, I won't do it here, but we would press this X here and close down the Pepperstone, so we get back to that.
Okay.
Then you'll notice over here we've labelled our portfolios different names. We'd go then once we they've notified us via email that they've finished the server upgrade or whatever, or we've allowed it to do the Windows update. We'll then open this back up, and all your settings should then just pop up again.
Okay.
If not, remember the set files are the things that restore it all back.
Yeah, understood.
So you might.
Question. Sorry,
before you leave that one, you might, when that's happening, you might actually turn auto trading off just for that occasion, so that you in fact check out all your set files, make sure it's all running, and then go back to auto trading after that. Or else, if you come back in and you've got different magic numbers or something strange is going on, you might open a bunch of rogue trades that you don't really want.
Sure. Okay, understood. And last question, guys. The max bars in the options setting. What price set that to?
Okay, so in the history center there, mate. Sorry, Fred.
No, not there. It's in the options, tools options, on the chart tab.
There we go. We've set it to 10,000 for both the max bars in history and max bars in chart.
Okay.
Now that's not going to help you when you're trying to do a back test over 50 years, but you don't need that much data. Providing that your max bars are in excess of any of your longest look backs, you should be fine.
Got it. That's perfect. Thanks so much, guys.
Anything else?
No, that's honestly incredibly helpful, really helpful. So the next step for me would be obviously to, I'll post one of the sub portfolios in the forum. If you could take a look, Fred, that would be amazing, just to figure out what that minimum stop loss thing is.
Try and find it for you. Yep.
But apart from that, yeah, I think I'm all set. I'll just create the set files and hopefully, fingers crossed, we get up and running properly.
Yeah, you'll be right.
You'll be fine.
Hopefully. It's exciting. I'm very excited, to be honest. I never thought I'd get this far all these years, but it's good.
What did you do before you tripped over this idea?
What in terms of my day-to-day job, do you mean?
No, you're talking about you didn't think you'd be able to create EAs. What did you do? You were just trading off the charts, and
so it was much less sophisticated, compared to what this is. I'd spent ages reading books, and then I was manually trying to backtest, one strategy that would work across all of the markets, and it was like taking one step forward and about 15 steps back until I found you guys.
Yeah, that's a common story. We did exactly the same thing, and that's when we decided, let's see if we can't help some people out. So, I'm glad you've been able to do something with it.
No, it's amazing. That's why I'm happy to help you guys in whichever way I can, especially on the YouTube front, because I think you both deserve the recognition.
No, look, Fred and I, we might be okay at the trading side of it, but we're terrible at marketing ourselves, mate. So yeah.
Leave that to the millennials, Rich.
Exactly, mate.
All right, mate. Talk again.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys.
Cheers,
bye.
See you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye.